As we know, the International Rugby League have confirmed that only 10 men's teams will be playing in the upcoming World Cup as opposed to the usual 16. I've already made my thoughts on that clear, but to convince you just how bad a decision it is, I thought we'd take a look at the 6 teams and players who we now won't be seeing at the 2026 World Cup. And there are some NRL superstars littered through these sides. There are still 2 spots available for the World Cup, which will be allocated through qualifiers. For the sake of this video, I've given those spots to the next 2 highest ranked countries, which are France and the Cook Islands. So without further ado, here are the 6 teams we now won't be seeing in 2026. The nation ranked in 11th spot is the Eastern European country of Serbia. A nation with a decent handful of first graders who are eligible for them, but one stands out above the rest. The headline act for Serbia is the Trbojevic brothers. Tom, Jake and Ben are all big on their Serbian heritage, and in fact they celebrate Serbian Christmas at home. Speaking to NRL.com a couple of years ago, Ben Trbojevic said, "Who knows, one day we could play for Serbia. We've talked about it around the dinner table. Jake, Tom and myself follow the game over there, so to do it one day would be cool." Other Serbians who currently play at the top level include Canberra Raider Nick Kotric and former Parramatta centre Tom Opacic, both of whom would bring a heap of experience and expertise to the players around them. One of the things that has Serbia ranked so high is a very strong domestic competition. The Serbian Rugby League Championship has existed for 22 years and features a whopping 17 teams. That's right, the Serbian comp has as many teams as the NRL does. Serbia in this World Cup would have been a tricky side to handle. Next up is the country that I called home for 12 years. It is the Netherlands, ranked appropriately at number 12. From one superstar fullback to the other, the main man if the Netherlands were allowed into the World Cup would be Ryan Papenhuisen. The Storm fullback is known to keep a keen eye on the comp over there and even engages with them on social media. One of the best moments that I've had as a rugby league fan was back when I used to run the NL Rugby League Instagram account. One evening I got a notification on the top of my phone saying Ryan.Pap started following you. It was huge for everyone over there to know that someone of his status was watching what we were doing. 2 other big names who could have been playing for the Netherlands are Cody Nikorima and his brother Jaden. And that's huge because while a lot of the countries around them do have NRL talent, to have someone like Cody Nikorima in a position as influential as the Haas would be a huge advantage for the Dutch side. The Netherlands have a solid domestic comp too, with 6 teams and 5 different teams having won the last 5 premierships. It is super competitive and those boys go hard. Back in 2022, one of their players was even nominated in the top 5 for the Golden Boot. It is a great comp to keep an eye on. Coming in at number 13, we've got the Italians. The strong Italian population in Australia has meant that there have been a number of very good Italian players to have played in the NRL. The ones that come to mind are former Canberra Raiders captain Terry Campese, former Queensland Maroons representative Aidan Guerra, and of course the Minicello brothers, all of whom have represented Italy on the international stage. And as for current players, this Italy team is actually kinda stacked. Eligible NRL players include Jordan Rapana, Daniel Atkinson, Jake Clifford, Nathan Brown, Trent Loiero, Alex Seyfarth, Luca Moretti, and of course, James Tedesco. The Sydney Roosters captain did represent Italy back at the 2017 World Cup, and he in particular would be so influential to the guys around him who aren't first graders. His influence would be a prime example of how simple exposure to these tournaments can drag up the quality of a national side over time. In 14th place are Greece, a nation who up until 2022 had to play rugby league internationals at midnight because it was banned by the government. If they'd been caught, they'd have been arrested and charged, but more on that in a sec. Greece are another country who benefit from having a population in Australia. It's given us Braithen Astor in the past, and now young up-and-comers Lachlan Ilias and Peter Mamouzelos. Not to mention former Cronulla Sharks cult hero Billy Magoulias. But their story of resilience starts at a domestic level in Greece. It stemmed from the fact that the Greek government refused to recognise the Greek Rugby League Association, and so any operations under that organisation were illegal. International matches couldn't be played on public fields. Away teams had to fly into Greece one day and fly out the next. The organisers wouldn't even tell the players the location of the game for fear that one of them might tell the police. They'd simply pick up the players with a bus and tell them not to ask any questions. They battled with all that and almost no resources and still managed to qualify for the last World Cup. It is a fantastic story fueled by passion for the game, but after this decision, their prospects of qualifying for future World Cups are next to none. The second to last team to qualify would be Malta. There were a heap of Malta fans in the comment section of my last video. I see you guys. And the team that you could field would be pretty solid. NRL talent who'd be playing for Malta includes Bronson Xerri, Tallis Duncan, Sean O'Sullivan, Zach Seedy and Luke Summerton. That has the makings of a decent little side who'd be well matched against the likes of Serbia and the Netherlands. One of my favourite things about rugby league in Malta is that they play an annual Maltese origin between the Red Knights who were born in Malta and the Black Knights who moved from overseas. I reckon it's really cool that stuff like that is happening around the world, and I think that initiatives like that one should be supported with as much opportunity as possible. And lastly, Ireland. Now these guys may be the lowest ranked nation in this video, but I think their potential side is definitely the strongest. By 2026, Luke Keary will be at the end of his 2-year Super League deal and may want a Rugby League World Cup swan song, and Ireland are able to combine him with the likes of Patrick Carrigan, Josh Curran, Jermaine Jolliffe, Declan Casey, the Brayley brothers, the Marshke brothers, and for the second time in this video, the Nikorima brothers. And the huge advantage that Ireland have is that they're also stacked with Super League talent. At their best, they're one of the better sides in the lower half of the World Cup. Those guys playing against the likes of Lebanon or PNG would be well worth watching. But as is the theme of this video, we won't get the chance. The video I made calling out the International Rugby League on this is currently sitting at several thousand views and was even discussed on the Bloke in a Bar podcast. But as of the time of recording, they still haven't explained their decision. Including these teams in these tournaments is a long-term investment. It creates fans from ethnic groups here in Australia, and it means that we'll have stronger tournaments in the future. Hey, this is Editing Leaguey here. I wanted to add one more thing. If this simply comes down to the fact that the International Rugby League can't afford it, then I understand that. But if that's the case, why wouldn't they have just said so? And given that this tournament is in Australia, and it will generate off-season interest and new fans here for the NRL, at a time when the NRL is boasting record profits, I'd be disappointed that they wouldn't chip in and pay the difference. It'd be a fantastic use for that money and only require a fraction of what they make. I really don't see an excuse not to get this done.